12,000 API keys found in the AI training set. Defense Secretary Hegseth orders the Pentagon to stop offensive cyber operations against Russia, and 284 million records found in InfoStealer logs. All this and more on this week's Executive Brief. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of our Cybersecurity Executive Brief. I am Corey Wolf, Director of Offensive Security at Risk360, and today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. As you might have seen from that intro, it's a little bit different than you've seen in the past. This week actually is a big week for us at Risk360. We launched our Advanced Security Services Suite, Armada. So very big week for us. Just want to say thank you to everyone involved developing the service line in these products. Armada really is just about advanced technical services. So you could think red teaming, attack surface management, continuous testing programs. All of that, next level advanced type testing is what you can expect from Armada. So we debuted that to the world this week. It's been excellent. Thank you to everyone at Risk360 that's been involved. Thank you to everyone who has commented, liked, and shared all the things about it. But that's what you can see from that new intro. So if that's something that you're interested in, please make sure to reach out. But this week, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world. The big, probably the one that I've heard the most about this week is around the Defense Secretary Hegseth ordering the Pentagon to stop offensive cyber operations against Russia. Yikes. So if you think about the big three nation states that come after the U.S., it's Russia, China, and in North Korea. Those are kind of the three biggest cyber adversaries that we have. So for this type of order to be handed down, it's kind of a big deal. I don't want to get into the political aspects of it, but essentially, this is somewhat common if there's a diplomatic approach occurring that you stop offensive cyber ops, right? Because if you're taking a diplomatic approach, you don't want to, cause anything or do anything that's going to cause issues for that. So it's not uncommon for this to happen. The thing about it is that it's Russia, war in Ukraine. If you think about ransomware, that's primarily like 90% of it is Russian-based operators. My hope is that hopefully we can work something out to where we get some of these ransomware operators get apprehended in some way. I don't know if that's going to happen, but trying to make the best out of it because when you first hear that, hey, stop offensive ops against Russia, you start to say, what, right? But hopefully this is just a push in a diplomatic approach. And maybe we get something out of it because ransomware crews have just been, for however long now, on a tear. 2024, I think it was like $1 billion in ransomware payments. The majority of those payments come from U.S. companies. Change Healthcare, the big one last year that just got absolutely wrecked by Alfie and Black Hat, two ransomware crews. So it's, from a diplomatic perspective, I understand why it would happen. I just hope that we're getting something for it. The real concern here is that it's not that easy. So not only, I believe they say, let's see, has paused offensive operations. And I believe it says somewhere here that they're also supposed to stop tracking. And this is the issue with that is attribution is hard, right? And so if you see an intrusion somewhere and you start to investigate that intrusion, you don't typically know. I mean, sometimes there's just glaring things to say, hey, yeah, it's this APT group or this threat actor or whatever. But generally speaking, you can't attribute the attack until you've investigated it and you've tracked it, right? So I think there's going to be a little bit of a challenge there from a tactical perspective. How do you actually stop tracking it? Well, and secondly, why would you stop tracking it? I want to confirm that there, but I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere that not only are they to stop the offensive operations, but they're supposed to stop tracking it. Lots to play out here. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Easier said than done, though. CISA has added to their known exploited vulnerabilities list, the KEV list, This is a list that they update regularly that includes, just as it sounds, exploited vulnerabilities, vulnerabilities that are to be known exploited in the wild. And so they track this activity through various telemetry, and they add new vulnerabilities as they start to see activity from threat actors. So I think they added 5, which is a pretty decent amount in one clip for them to add to the Kev list. So primarily the ones they're focused around Windows and Cisco, which you can see it's a bunch of Cisco routers, and there's 2 that were added to the Kev list from Cisco. One is the first flaw, which enables attackers to execute arbitrary commands on these VPN routers. And it says while it requires valid administrative credentials, this still can be achieved by chaining another CVE, which is an authentication bypass, which provides root privileges. So yes, and by the way, both of these are from 2023. CVE-2023, which means that they were cataloged and identified in 2023 at some point. So they've been around for a year or two at this point, but now threat actors are starting to come around and use them actively, which is why they're being added to the Kev list. So this first one isn't that bad, but then if you chain it together with this authentication bypass, well, now you have a problem, right? And so that's what threat actors are doing. So many times, like I wonder, I don't even know. Let's see what this is. So it's a hot, well, we'll say it's in between a medium and a high. These 2 vulnerabilities from Cisco are from 2023. The other 2 are from Windows based. The second security bug, CVE 2018 8639. It's a high from 2018, which is just now being added to the known exploited vulnerabilities list. So what's that tell you? Threat actors, 1, don't forget, and 2, they basically have unlimited time. But these are issues. This is an issue, rather, an elevation of privilege vulnerability from 2018, which CISA has seen being exploited in the wild. Yeah, so Cisco, these are old vulnerabilities which are now coming back, but CISA has added them to their Kev list. Cisco and Microsoft have not updated the original security advisory for this. I don't know that they should. They're 2 to 7 years old. I don't know that we necessarily would expect them to update their security advisories. But if you're not monitoring the Kev list, I highly suggest you do so. There's many programmatic ways to do it. You can, of course, always just go to CISA's website and see it as well. So this is actually a lot to be added at once to the Kev list. So I want to make sure that we call that out this week. If you're not familiar with Have I Been Pwned, Have I Been Pwned has been around for a while now, where you can search for your email and see if it's in data breach. Recently, so this is actually from the 25th, but they added 284 unique email addresses to the Have I Been Pwned database. So what's it say? 69% were already in. 69% were already in Have I Been Pwned. Whew. So where they got this data from, and if you've been following along with the executive brief for a little bit now, you might have heard me talk about info stealers, how they're gaining more momentum, how they're starting to just be used more and more and more. The Snowflake breach originated from an info stealer. Snowflake breach being one of the big ones. It wasn't a breach. I said it myself. The Snowflake incident with the over 165 organizations that had their data exfiltrated, there we go, that's the appropriate way to say it, originated from an info stealer log. And so we're seeing these used more and more and more and more because, quite simply, they are literally just, once they get onto the machine, they are just collecting information. So if they see a password be put into a form somewhere, if they can find cookies or session tokens or whatever it is, They just gather all this good information, sensitive information, and exfiltrate it out to the threat actors. So it just continues to happen. I wanted to again call this out because that's a pretty big number. Excuse me. So the alien tech space is a info stealer, and so apparently Have I Been Pwned got access to those logs and added them in. 284 million unique email addresses from that one info stealer. So they're quieter. It's what's, but I mean, if you're a threat actor, think about it. What are you going to do? If you actually get a foothold on a machine, are you going to, what's from an OPSEC perspective, what's better? Trying to elevate privileges and move throughout the network and do all this other kind of stuff, or be patient and just sit there and collect any sensitive information that you can get. This goes back also to last year, to where Microsoft released, if you remember, Microsoft released their new, was it their Surface Pro laptops? I forget. Their new laptops with the AI chips in it. And one of the features that they were going to roll out was Microsoft Recall, which took screenshots of your machine every 5 seconds or something. And it was just a mess. And the data wasn't really protected in any way. You could view a lot of stuff in plain text. Info stealers would love that kind of stuff. And so in the end of the day, I think they actually released Recall in like a preview or something, but it's not out for mass adoption as of yet. So info stealers continue to rise. Lastly, 12,000 API keys and passwords found in AI training data set. So what this is actually is there's something called Common Crawl nonprofit organization, and it maintains a massive open source repository of petabytes of web data collected since 2008, and it's free for anyone to use. So ChatGPT, OpenAI, Anthropic, I'm sure, all these companies that are training their own LLMs, I can almost guarantee that they've all used the Common Crawl data set. And of course, if you're just scanning the internet and logging it all, you're going to find keys all over the place. And so researchers at Truffle Security, the makers of TruffleHog, which is very good at finding sensitive data in code bases and that kind of thing, actually, I guess they took this Common Crawl data set, scanned it, and found 11,908 secrets. And I think they actually tested it. Yeah, so just here's some. Another highlight in the report is the high reuse rate of discovered secrets, saying 63% were present on multiple pages. But here's just one example. Nearly 1,500 unique MailChimp API keys were hard-coded in front-end HTML and JavaScript. So that's just for MailChimp. But they went through and it's somewhere in here. But there was basically a lot, like a high percentage of the pages that they crawled had a lot of them. So they found nearly 12,000 API keys. I don't remember exactly how many worked. It was a lot. We're running out of time here, so I'm not going to go look for it. But yeah, that's that. So another week of the executive brief. Thank you again to everyone involved with the launch of Armada, Risk360's offensive security suite of advanced services. We will also be having a public training on March 27th, where we will go through, which I think I'll link to that, but where we'll be going through Black Basta and the chat logs. Last week we talked about chat logs from Black Basta. So what we will be doing on the 27th of March is we will have a training to where we will go through some of the TTPs of Black Basta taken right from their chat logs. We will talk through those attacks. We will demo those attacks, and then we will open up a lab to all the participants to try out those attacks. So we'll walk through how ransomware crews operate in the modern day. We'll look at some of their tradecraft. We'll try it out, and then we'll give participants a chance to try it out. So look forward to seeing you there on the 27th. CPE credits also are included, so if you're looking for some CPE credits, great opportunity to do so and learn something and have a good time. Last time we had a pretty good turnout, and it was a really good time. So with that, appreciate you spending another week with me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have an excellent weekend, and guess what? I'll see you here next Wednesday. Speak soon.